Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever, wherever you're watching this. Gabe Sherman. I am making this video just to kind of take a new approach to my self-growth, journaling, all that kind of good stuff, and trying to focus on potentially helping other people through helping myself, maybe connecting with more people. That'd be pretty cool. It's one of my passions. One of the things I'm most excited about is connecting with other people, having vulnerable, authentic relationships. It's really makes me feel fulfilled when I find people and connect with them in that capacity. So I guess to kick it off, a few things just to help define who I am. 36 years old, wife, been with for 16 years, a son that's 2 years old, a daughter that's 5, and I have a 5-month pregnant wife right now. So unborn child on the way. I guess a little backstory from California, or born in California, I should say, moved at 2 with my mom across the country to Florida to kind of escape my father, I guess. And she raised myself and my 2 brothers. I was the youngest. Did as good as she could. Great job, love her. Proud of what she was able to accomplish, very proud. And had a tough time from 2 to 18. I would say it really changed around 10 or 12. Then I started testing the boundaries. I started doing things that were things that I'm not proud of now, but I am proud of who they made me, or proud of who I've become because of those things. So I wouldn't trade what I did because I love who I am. Then I moved to Tampa when I was 18, so 2004, graduated high school barely, by the way, 1.7 or 1.9 GPA. It was very sad. Moved up to Tampa for a girlfriend and broke up with her and met my wife shortly after that. And then, she was probably the only woman in my life that put her foot down outside of my mother. And I like that about her. I really like that she was a force to be reckoned with, and very intelligent, very intellectual, all types of really good things. And so she got me into college. She told me, hey, if you ever want to make anything in your life, you got to get educated. So I went to college. I ended up doing really well in college. I got a 3.4 GPA because I applied myself. I really enjoyed that time of education opposed to the first 18 years. What else? I guess that's the background story. Oh, and then that's when I started my self-made job, life, career, whatever you'd call it, in the middle of college, in my community college career. Shout out to anybody that went to HCC, Hillsborough Community College, or anyone that went to junior college in general, in order to get to real college, because you for whatever reason. Shout out to you guys. In my first year, I can't remember exactly. I was 22 years old. I started college when I was 22, so it must have been the first year. I was getting straight A's because I had to take all remedial classes, but it did a lot for me. It made me feel really good about myself to get good grades. And I started my first sales career. I started a sales career with, it was just a job at the time, Lifestyle Family Fitness, LFF. Big shout out to any gym rats, anyone that's selling gym memberships, all my health and nutrition people, all you guys. And that changed my life. I realized I could go from making $8.50 an hour to like $2,200 a paycheck. It was quite the experience. So followed their method, their rhythm, their guidance, everything that they told me to do, and it worked flawlessly. So that's when I fell in love with sales. I fell in love with the numbers. I realized that anything could be possible as long as you stick to it and you're persistent and you believe. And that was amazing. You know, my wife really helped me get there. Yeah, running 5 minutes now. So I don't know, I guess we'll keep going or save the rest. Keep going. From there, I had several more knick-knack jobs, I call them maybe, where I would go somewhere, do really well, and then pretty much hit the ceiling, whether it was sales or marketing, whatever. Guerrilla marketing, I did a lot back then. So I would do door-to-door, you know, hey, come visit this business. You know, we'd love to, you know, see you come in with your family. Here's a coupon, whatever it was. And I would just max out. I would get to a point where I felt like my talents were being either taken advantage of or misused, or, you know, I have this thing where I always feel like I could create a better system, process, or I would see efficiencies where they weren't seen by others, or it was just a tried and true way of doing things, and so they wouldn't want to improve the process because they've already done it this way for so long. Yada, yada, yada. So I had quite a few of those jobs. Everything from vacation package, you know, telephone sales to, like I said, beating the streets, guerrilla marketing for sub shops. I actually opened new sub shops. I did a lot. I had a good sub shop run, Lenny's sub shop, if you guys are familiar. Philly cheesesteaks. And what other type of sales did I do? All types of stuff. But anyway, that got me into my senior career, where my wife's uncle had a 40-year run and created his own company and selling food safety and sanitation to the largest grocery store chains in the U.S. So once I graduated, 2013, I know it's a big spread there, from USF, go Bulls, with the economics degree. I then started selling food safety and sanitation. And the interesting thing about the corporate sales world, or at that time, again, this is, 10 years ago plus, because I'm making this video in 2023, by the way, there was no guidance. So at that time, no one taught me anything. They threw the manual at me. They told me about products. They gave me specifications. They said, what it did or how it did it, but no marketing material, nothing. And the company was based out of Atlanta, and I was working from Tampa. And the first year I got a few $1,000s in sales. I cleaned a bunch of bathrooms and all types of nasty stuff at convenience stores. And I mean, you just name it, from A to Z. And none of it really worked. None of it worked enough to make a good size sale, which their sales, again, their largest grocery chain was at that time buying $11-12 million worth of product from them annually, and they had 10 to 15 customers, maybe a couple more. So it was a good size company. Small cap if you're trading it on the index, I guess, or it's smaller. And I forgot to say at the very beginning, for the first 3 months, they had me drive down to Miami because there was a CEO that was trying to buy the company that had to work for the owner first. And so I drove down to Miami for 3 months, essentially every week, to work out of their office, just doing, since I was fresh out of college, corporate pitches, why we should target grocery convenience stores. We had a large C-store chain that was almost, I think, 1,000 locations across the East Coast. So they wanted to grow there. They wanted me to do research and development and understand why we should go into that. And so funny enough, on that third month, after doing all their doodly dahs and woo-ha's, such a monumental moment in my life. That third month, I was kind of tired of not doing sales. I really wanted to get into sales. I really knew I could do something and make something of myself. And so we're in the corporate, room, and all the people that run the company, the owner, everybody, the CEO, the COO, everyone's in this room, and I'm doing this big pitch for everyone. I handed out all the packets. We had the slide. I did the presentation. They all enjoyed it. They liked it. Everything was good. And at the end, I stood up and I said, hey, if I could have everybody's time, no one's given me a goal. No one's given me a quota, anything that I can try to sell to achieve, $500 this year, $1 million this year, whatever it may be. And so I'd like to set a goal for myself so I can start doing sales. And my goal is $10 million. Well, the owner didn't like that very much. Thought it was very audacious and, an incredible thing for me to say. So he let me have it, ripped into me, told me how new I was, told me how that number is one of the largest accounts that they have currently, and how could I, be so bold to make these statements and all this kind of good stuff. So I took it. I took the beating and the verbal beating, and didn't stop believing. Didn't stop. Ironically, right before that meeting, I wrote down on the back of one of my business cards, 10 million in sales, 10 million in sales. I kept that business card. I might even still have it today. And so that was the first 3 months. Then I had gone on to finish that year to go try to sell in Tampa to prove myself. I went to all the independent grocery stores. I went to all the 7-Elevens. I cleaned meat rooms. I cleaned bathrooms. I mean, it was a really disgusting experience, but selling these cases that they would send to my garage was invigorating. When I got my first sale, big shout out to Meat Market in Tampa, Rick and Mo. Great guys. Go see them if you're out there. Good deals. They were the first clients that I ever had. Great experience with them, cleaning their grocery store and selling them products. And but it didn't work out. That first year didn't work. So they called me, they being HR or the owner, I can't remember exactly, and said, maybe the new CEO at the time, you can either move to Atlanta and continue the job, work out of the office, or we'll give you 3 months pay severance, so you can go look for another gig. And I went to my wife and I said, what do you think? And so for 2 weeks we deliberated and thought about it and just put a ton of emotion into it and all this stuff. And she looked at me, and I'll never forget, this is another defining moment in my life. And she goes, Gabe, if you don't give this everything you have, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life and never know what you could have done. And so, man, that really, I get a little emotional now thinking about it. It really meant a lot to me for her to say that, because it showed that she believed in me. And I think that's powerful, especially if it's something that you don't necessarily get as a child. Usually children are, propped up by their parents and given these beliefs, but I didn't have that luxury as a child. My mom worked to support us, so we didn't have to be on food stamps and all this kind of stuff. And so, but anyway, so when my wife did that and she said that to me, I countered and said, I'll fly up every week if you guys are okay with that. And they were. And so I flew up every week. I stayed at the, kind of grossest hotels. It was quite the experience. And within 7 months, I opened an opportunity by myself with no other help, cold calls, all that kind of good stuff, identifying opportunities and pockets in the market based on what their current business model was, which was, they needed a hub or distribution center to sell out to other grocery stores. So they would truck in their product to the hub, and then the grocery chain would take care of it at that point, and they would disperse all the products. And so we would measure sales and how many trucks you had, or what that looked like. And these are semi trucks, obviously. And so I found Rouse's out in Louisiana, cold called them for months, and finally the 7th month they called me back, or they picked the phone up, and the guy that usually handles the business, unfortunately, RIP, good guy, was in the hospital, and the new gentleman decided to give me a shot. He's like, oh yeah, we're accepting bids right now. We're taking RFPs. We'd love to hear your proposal. So I flew out there, proposed the opportunity, the food safety and sanitation product line, I don't know that we did the prices yet because we didn't have the information, but how it was an all-inclusive bundle. So you buy the soap, we provide the service included in the price. And they loved it. They loved everything. So they said, we'll give you a store, come on out, work this store, show us, it was supposed to be a 30-day trial. It went out to be a 90-day trial. And then we got the business. And this was a $1.5 million contract. So my first, what is that? 7-figure deal that I'd ever done. And while I was building that opportunity, while I was making that, calling every month for 7 months, every week almost for 7 months, I was also working the independent grocery chain in Georgia because I knew I had to show value. I knew I had to create traction. Even if I couldn't get in with these big sales cycles that take 1 to 2 years to close, I had to get something. And so I built my own sales and service from the ground up for myself. I ended up, I think, selling in the end was 65 independent grocers across Georgia and Alabama. Big shout out to everybody that helped me with that. I know that there were some key figures there. Marvin, Jake, Fred even came along for a while. All these guys were huge in that effort, and I really appreciate you guys. It meant a lot to me at the time. Still does. Still means the world to me. And yeah, I ended up building that there. It didn't do as well because they were independent and there was invoicing issues and wasn't particular to that company's business model. So big shout out to Piggly Wiggly and all the independent grocery stores that I talked to at the time. I probably went in and talked to hundreds over that period. But anyway, after that, I went on to sell another in Texas that I identified myself. We thought it was going to be, 3.25 because it was double the size, and ended up being closer to 1.75, something like that. But same pitch, identified them, got the distribution center, pitched the gentleman, loved it. All the products were the right price for the service being included, and worked out really well. So that was a very exciting part of my life. I guess the piece that I left out there was that this part of the industry that I found, this niche little pocket, we were able to see, I think it was something like 55% growth or profit versus any other account. So it was the most profitable accounts that they had. So even though they weren't $10 million accounts, being a $1 million account, or Rouse's was $500,000 per year. We got a 3-year contract. Again, the La Fiesta was 1.75 for 3 years. So break that down into thirds, and that's what it was annually. So that was really, just like at Lifestyle Family Fitness, that meant a lot to me. It showed me that I was able to go into the market, create an opportunity, or identify a pocket in the market, use persistence and my intelligence and God-given talents and all these things to make it come to fruition. And it really taught me a lot about myself in a professional capacity and what I was able to do. And then this is where it gets interesting. So we had turned over, I think, 3 CEOs at that company in this time frame, and so that was from the end of 2013 to 2016. I want to say maybe 16, 17. And they gave me my first lead. So again, none of the business that I had generated so far had been given to me. I went out and made it all for myself. And those 65 grocers, independent grocery stores, I and another gentleman after a while delivered the products myself, fixed the equipment when it broke, pitched all the products, delivered the chemicals and the system. I mean, it was quite a system. It was quite a setup. I mean, I was doing a lot of work at that time and earning my stripes, or whatever you call that. And so when they gave me this first opportunity, Giant Eagle out of Ohio and Pittsburgh and a couple of states up there, they had a contact. There was somebody there that they knew, and it was a warm invite. It was a warm lead, and it was between us, the incumbent, and I want to say another company. And so for the first 6 months of 2017, while my wife was pregnant, we just bought our first house. I was making tons of money. I was on track to make 180 or 200,000 plus that year. I spent 6 months in Pittsburgh managing 3 trial locations, doing the installs myself, leading a team of 10 to 20 people, and we got the business. And that was a 4-year contract that was around 10 million bucks. And this was one of the biggest, most pivotal moments of my life, because unfortunately the most recent CEO that came in the turn, they thought that I was being favored because I was, in a way related to the owner. So I was getting 5% on the back end for the accounts. I was getting, bonused on how many locations I would sign. There was a very lucrative sales comp plan, which was exciting for me, especially because they brought me in at $40,000 a year. So in my opinion, it was appropriate. And I can't really get into all the details, but let's just say I was misled to believe that I had more power than I did. And I also drank my own juice. I was riding high on my own horse. So it was a combination of a bunch of things. And I put my foot down. I thought that I was being taken advantage of. They sliced my comp package. I was supposed to make almost 6 figures off of this $10 million sale. None of it came true. It ended up being $20,000 a year, and they completely changed my workload. So they wanted me to go into the field and install essentially not every location, because it was several hundred, but be boots on the ground for the entire process. And my wife was 6-7 months pregnant, and I just said no. I put my foot down. I said, I want a 6-figure salary. I want the same comp plan. I still want to get paid the same amount of money and commissions, and I'm willing to take this leap. I'm willing to go into the field and do what you guys want me to do. They said no. We weren't able to come to a solution, and I was being a little stubborn or bullheaded at the time, and I left the company. Got that $10 million sale, went through, and then I got nothing from it, and except for experience and all kinds of good stuff like that, but no financial gain. And so, wow. Then I kicked off 2017 and my new baby with that, and I got a lot of, it kind of similar to what happened after Lifestyles. I got a lot of knick-knack jobs. I went right into software as a service. They targeted lawyers, and so I was trying to bring everybody's IT to the cloud. The pay wasn't too bad. I probably doubled my last salary pay, but wasn't able to really land any big sales that were worth anything, because it was all virtual. Gone to several conferences. I made a lot of good relationships. Big shout out to Timon and Michael Bone as well, because he was instrumental in getting me that gig, and he actually gave me the opportunity there. But I just learned a lot about what I need as a salesperson at that time to do well and to continue. And selling, there's a lot there, but it didn't work out. And so then I went on to do several more jobs like that. And now I am in the what they call the right-of-way acquisition industry. Things are really interesting in my life right now. I have a pregnant wife again, as I said, and I'm actually in Sioux City, Iowa at the moment. I took a gig up here because I did so well the first year with what I did down in Florida, that when they decreased the size of the project, they said, hey, we'll give you a shot up here in Iowa because you proved yourself. We think that you could do really well in this industry. So I essentially doubled my pay overnight. And then with, the other things they give you in order to actually remote work or work in another state while you're still paying your bills in Florida, rode me up to 180 a year if I had been up here full time. And so even with the challenges of going home, probably 35 to 40% of the time and being up here for the last 6 months, I managed to close deals. And this position that I'm in right now requires 7 years of experience. I have 1 year of experience. And so in this specific industry, obviously in sales, I have over 10 years. It started in 2009, but it just, again, shows me this big light in myself and at the end of the tunnel, and capacity for, doing things and accomplishing things at all odds, or, while things are as challenging as they could be. And so I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of my life, who I am. It went on a little longer than I expected there, but I just wanted to make this video as an opener and kind of introduce myself to the world, and hopefully keep making these videos, learning more about myself through them, while giving to the community, giving to other people. Hopefully you can learn something about yourself. There's a lot of key facts that I guess I just kind of touched on, that I went over. Not having a father, being raised without a father, that's a big deal. That was a big one that I learned that I had to deal with later in life, especially through becoming a father. I think this is a very common, unfortunately, a very common situation this day and age, and it shouldn't be. Children shouldn't be raised without fathers. That's a sad story, but for another day. That, and then a lot of other things that we'll jump into in a few later videos. But wish you guys well. That's Gabe Sherman in a nutshell. Love you guys, and look forward to connecting with everybody. Talk soon.